Talib Kweli, welcome to the Livewire House Party.
Woohoo!
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the love and the support.
Yeah.
Where are you at right now?
I am in Miami, Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been doing a tour of all the COVID hotspots.
But you're not down there actually touring, right? Like you're not performing. You're just
No.
in Miami.
I'm being facetious. It's just my work work and family stuff has taken me to pretty much the COVID hotspots in the country. But I am socially distancing and masked up, and I get tested very often for the work I do.
And I mean, you're somebody who's used to, in the normal times, being on tour a lot, performing, being around people. What's this been like for you to have your life constrained the way it is?
That's a great question. I am actually traveling way more than most people now travel due to the lockdown, but I'm traveling way less than that. I mean, it's hard for me to paint the picture for you in a way that you guys can understand. The Roots were the most touring rap band before they took the job with Jimmy Fallon. And after that, I became the most touring rap act. I was doing 200, 250 shows a year.
Wow.
Up until I did at least 200 shows a year, every year for the last 20 years.
Holy crap.
Up until the lockdown, right? So up until like last March was the longest time I've ever spent in one place in the last 20 years. And I spent most of it in Ohio, but spending, 3-4 months in one place is something I've never done in my adult life. And I feel the difference in my body. I feel the difference in my spirit. I was touring because
for the better.
Frankly, I thought, yeah, I mean, for the better. I mean, I love the road and I love getting out there and meeting people. But now that I've spent 5-6 months in one place, my diet is different. My habits are different. And it's like, I don't understand who that person was. I don't know how I don't know how I was functioning like that. I think it's just because I felt like I had to do it. But then when the world shifted and you could no longer do that, I had to shift my focus. But it's amazing just the difference I see in my own self, not having to be in a different city every night.
I really enjoyed this book, Vibrate Higher. And right at the beginning, you have a line in the book that really kind of stopped me. You write, "The truth is most rappers are super nerds. Our need to be liked by everybody is why we use rhymes to try to explain what you are going through and ultimately bring you closer to us." Like you start out by immediately demystifying rappers. Like I've never felt like rappers were more relatable than when I read that line.
Well, I got to apologize to all my fellow rappers. I might have just been speaking for myself. And I said I was speaking on behalf of all the good rappers. But I mean, maybe there's some rappers that don't feel that way, but I travel in a lot of rapper circles, and the best MCs in the world are nerds. They're and I guess everyone's a nerd about what they're good at, but I find that rappers are nerds about a bunch of things. Rappers watch Star Wars and The Office and, do really nerdy things and get really excited about it.
I mean, you got to get the lyrics from somewhere, right? I mean, one of the things I love about your music, Talib, is that you just reference everybody and everything in your songs.
Well, I'm a fan of pop culture. My father is a sociology professor, and I pay attention to pop culture. As I get older, my interests narrow. But, as a young kid, I watched every single thing on television. I would listen to every single song, every single genre of music, everything that came out. I would just consume all of it. I guess my tastes are more refined now. I don't have time, or brain space to be doing that anymore. I'm more focused now as an older man. But yeah, when I was younger, I just consumed, devoured everything.
Speaking of your parents, you talk in this book about being raised with the concept of Black cultural nationalism and Pan-Africanism. What does that exactly mean, and what did that look like for you as a young man growing up in Brooklyn?
It meant representation. You hear that phrase now, representation matters, so often. And I was honored and blessed and privileged as a child to have Black representation in my life. And I feel like strong Black representation in my life. I feel like because of it, it's made me a better man. Having the name Talib Kweli, such a powerful, strong name, seeing African art on the walls, reading about African authors. It wasn't just Black History Month. It was an everyday thing. It was just part of our routine. The fact that my mother worked at a college named after Medgar Evers, and she worked alongside Betty Shabazz, and understanding that it wasn't just about Malcolm X, but it was also about Betty Shabazz. Understanding it wasn't just about Medgar Evers, also about Murley Evers. Growing up in Brooklyn, that sort of diverse community that sort of I remember as a kid, my block reminded me of Sesame Street. Like Sesame Street's a national show, at this point, an international show. But that it looked like my block. And it felt like that. And the inner city doesn't come without problems. But we had problems, it's roaches and rats and, homelessness and the crack epidemic and all these things were affecting my childhood. But it was a strong sense of community. And for me, Black cultural nationalism is not about at all segregation or separating from white people, but it's about gaining equity. It's about cooperative economics. It's about doing what other communities who are privileged to not be brought over here as slaves and chained as slaves. Those other communities, immigrant communities, built up by supporting each other's businesses. So, spending dollars with each other. And the Black community has not done that in the way that other communities have had for a lot of reasons. But Black cultural nationalism sort of tries to get people in that headspace so that we could not be dependent on white people or the government, but really be dependent on ourselves.
We're talking to Talib Kweli here on the Livewire House Party. His book is Vibrate Higher, a rap story. Were you confident when you set about to write this book that it was going to be good? Because you're a writer, you write music, you've done experimental theater, but that's different than a memoir.
You're right. I'm very nervous about the reception of this book. I'm a very confident MC. I'm better than most rappers, and in what I do, I'm very, very confident about my skill level in hip hop, and that's part of the hip hop thing, right? That's part of the great MC thing is being able to brag about your skills. I don't have that same confidence in the literary world, and I'm looking at my peers in this world now, and the shoulders that I'm standing on, and I'm like, wow, I hope people like the book. When it took me about 4 or 5 years to really complete it.
Wow.
But really, it was more like 3 years. The last 2 were me hemming and hawing and not turning it into the publisher because I was nervous about how it would be received. And I'm still living my life and things are changing. And I'm feeling different about people that I felt, was somebody I felt one way about 1 month, then I changed my mind about them. I'm taking paragraphs out. I'm putting paragraphs back in. And so it was a very sort of nerve-wracking process. And then there's a lot of personal stuff in there too. So it's like, should I share this? Are these people going to be upset at me? For anyone's listening, my book doesn't have the tea. It's not juicy with gossip, but it's certainly, personal stuff in there. And that made me nervous.
It's so upfront too. Like it has like this amazing directness, and it's not that you're indirect in your albums and your work as a hip hop artist, but it just has this frankness that doesn't really connote lyricism in this way that is just so wonderful. The scenes just come alive, like the sort of like Brooklyn in the 80s and
That's
90s.
A huge compliment. I really appreciate that. And that's what you just said is what I was trying to convey, is that this book is not just about me. It's about Brooklyn in the 90s. It's about the raucous era. It's about a certain type of hip hop. It's about all of these things. And I'm proud of the fact that in the academic space and the literary space, I don't think we've seen some of the things that I've talked about. I don't think we've seen people talk about Dilla and Madlib and Kanye West and Yasin Bey in this way, and even Dave Chappelle in this way. And so I'm proud to be able to bring their stories to life as well.
I think you occupy this unique position, Talib, where you're somebody who has been involved in those situations and been part of those stories, but also has a very literary mind and has a lot of, training and background in this kind of writing. So I think it comes together in this really cool way. We got to take a real quick break, but when we come back, we're going to continue talking to Talib Kweli. His latest book is Vibrate Higher, a rap story. Stay with us. This is the Livewire House Party. insert commercial about the NPR Wine Club or something, or whatever they're going to play, and then we'll come back. I'll do the. Welcome back to the Livewire House Party from PRX. I'm Luke Burbank here with Elena Passarello. We're talking to Talib Kweli, the hip-hop artist and writer. He's got a book out, Vibrate Higher, a rap story. One of the things, Talib, that I've been really interested to follow in your career over the last, 10 years is the business model that you've embraced as an artist. You have a track off of one of your mixtapes. We run this Volume 7, and it's like the last track is called like Speaking About Career, where it's just you talking. I mean, actually, I think Kanye also did a version of this on Last Call, where it's just an artist talking about their experience of trying to make it in this business and then also make it work for them. What is the version of hip hop business that you've embraced so that you can keep doing this for your job?
For me, I think it's about learning when it was time for me to leave the music industry and build an industry around myself. And for me to figure out how to stop competing with other rappers and compete with myself. I had a very fierce competitive spirit, and I think it served me well in the industry. I put myself, in my mind, I had to be better than every rapper. I had to compete with every rapper. And so I listened to every album. I knew every hit song. I paid attention to the radio. I was very focused. I knew every trend. I knew every label, every artist. And that worked for a number of years. But, when you start to get to a little older, that worked for from when I was 22 to when I was like 35. When I started approaching 40, I had to start focusing more on myself and making sure that I would be able to eat and I'd be able to make a living regardless of what happened in the music business. The music business collapsed around me. When I was first starting, every budget was $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 for an album or a video. Millions of dollars were spending on everything. I remember I just did Jimmy Fallon's show, and he said, "Man, when I was hanging out with you, you had the most beautiful watch I've ever seen. You had this beautiful Louis Vuitton watch." And I was like, "I didn't have no Louis Vuitton watch." And I was like, I did have a beautiful I forgot about it. I was like, I was doing all this extravagant rapper stuff. I was buying expensive watches and expensive sunglasses and stuff like this to go to nightclubs. And then I would lose this stuff. Just the amount of money and the amount of everything is like that. I have to give props to like LP from Run the Jewels, Killer Mike, but LP in particular, because he started on Raucous when I started on Raucous. But while I was living this like rapper life and like getting major deals and spending all this money, he was building an independent musical empire. He started with Def Jux, and then he did Run the Jewels, and he always was just like, he was always very low key with it. It was never flashy with that guy. Even right now, it's never flashy with that guy. And he's got a white privilege that I don't have. But you know what I'm saying? But beyond that, just as my peer in this business, I look at what he's doing. I'm like, man, had I spent those years going to nightclubs and getting those big deals and spending all this money, building myself as an independent artist like LP did, I feel like I'd be in a better position. And so, I appreciate what he's been able to do. I look at what Nipsey Hussle was able to do. I look at Rock Marciano and what West Side Gun and Conway and the Griselda crew and Benny the Butcher did. And it's their moment now. So people are very excited about Griselda. But it's because they said no to a lot of industry things and did it their own way. And so I talk about this in the book, God Bless Ryan Leslie, who is also an artist who's like that. And he taught me how he built a website for me, qualityclub.com. And I was already heading in the independent direction, working with brilliant record executives like Drew Ha from Duck Down Records. He was very efficient in helping me out. But working with Ryan Leslie, when he built qualityclub.com for me, that's when I really understood that I could do it myself. I put out the Gravitas album. It was the first album that was completely self-distributed by myself. And I did okay. I made a living for a few months off record sales. And with my career, I always have to wait for I've always in the past had to wait for the record label to get their money first. So the idea that I just put something out and the money would come right back in my pocket immediately, that was foreign to me at the time. And I've been moving in a more independent direction since.
One of the things you write about in this book is that, Jay-Z name-checked you in a song. He said, if skills sold truth, be told, I'd probably be lyrically Talib Kweli, and how that name check did more PR work for you than, or the same amount as years of you out there grinding. How does that feel for you as somebody who has been on your grind, since a young age to really be a name in hip hop? How do you feel about your place in the hip hop universe, I guess, is the real question.
I feel good. That Jay-Z saying my name was validation for me. And it made me feel like if I was confused about my place in hip hop, well, then this helped out. That happened in 2004 when Jay-Z said that in Moment of Clarity. In 2004, Kanye West and 50 Cent were the biggest things in the rap game. 50 Cent, when he did an interview for XXL, he was the editor for 1 month. They asked him who he wanted to interview. He could interview anybody. They'll go get him. He wanted to interview me. Mm-hmm. Kanye West was someone who I would take on tour. So I watched these artists who respected me so much grow and become so much bigger than me and make so much more money than me. So it was like I was experiencing something in 2004 where I was just maybe a little bit unsure because I'm like, what am I doing wrong that these guys can come after me, love what I do, I inspire these guys, and then they come out and they make way more money than me. What am I doing wrong? And then Jay-Z said that lyric. And it's like, wow, maybe if I rapped more about money, I'd have a lot more money. But then I had to really think. Right, because Jay-Z definitely did that. But then what you just said is correct, right? You manifest it. Well, what is it that I rapped about all the time? I rapped about cultural nationalism. I rapped about being a good rapper. I rapped about, like I said, I want to be better than every rapper. And so, well, I achieved that. The best rapper in the world, the person who the people say is the best rapper was like, I'm good, but look at this guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, I didn't have the money, but I did. I manifested exactly and that was a big lesson for me. Right. That you can, words are power, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, you are really known for your lyrics, and you write in this book that you really have always tried to hold yourself to a really high lyrical standard, regardless of what the trends are. I mean, right now, a lot of the hip hop that's very popular is very lyrically spare. I mean, what's your kind of what's your relationship with the very popular hip hop of the moment that is much less lyric heavy than the stuff that you do?
I mean, I learned from wherever I can learn from. What I have learned from artists that are not as lyrical, whether it's a young thug or an old dirty bastard or a young dude that passes away like Juice WRLD or, stuff like that, that's more about vibing. Old Dirty, if he was around, I got to qualify that, would be upset if I said he wasn't lyrical. But what he was saying, because I think Russell, A-Sign Unique considered himself a lyricist. He used to battle people. The stories about him battling Q-Tip, but it wasn't his lyrics and his punchlines and his metaphors that people liked about Old Dirty. It was the vibe.
I know. I mean, he'll pull out a rhyme like in the middle of a song. He'll just say, "God made dirt and dirt bust your ass," which completely does not fit into any part of the scansion of the song. But we're all going with it.
It's a vibe. No, that's exactly right. And what I've learned is to appreciate the musicality of letting go of the lyrics. As a lyricist, I need that. Slum Village, T3, by 10. Rest in peace, by 10. Jay Dilla's group. Their first album was called Fantastic Volume 1. And Jay Dilla is like our godfather. And me, Mos Def, The Roots Common, Erica, we were all worshiping at the feet of Dilla and listening to Slum Village album over and over again. And on that first album, they have a song called Fantastic. And the song is like a minute long. And the lyrics are, we say fan, ta, so what? You say, huh? It's that So it's for y'all to dance to it slow because it's fantastic. Now that doesn't make any sense lyrically, but I love it. And it taught me to be more loose with my words and just be more funky and just feel the vibe. And as someone who just focused on every lyric has to be enunciated and said perfectly, it was good for me to learn that lyric. So the takeaway from that is I don't have any problem with mumble rap or non-lyrical rap. They can't do what I do at all. Mm-hmm. And so all I can do is just learn from that. And listen to it and catch the vibe. Yeah,
which is very related to the title of this book, Vibrate Higher, a rap story. It's Talib Kweli's new book. It's amazing. You got to go out and get it. Talib, thank you so much for coming on the Live Wire House Party, man. We really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.